What's going on, everyone? I'm just a simple American man here to react and learn about Canada's history. And this is something I complain about a lot, is that in America, they just don't do a great job of teaching the history and governments and the workings about of foreign nations, let alone such an important, if I can speak, nation of Canada to our north on our border. I mean, people we've worked with side by side for far longer than I've been born. And yet, I think about it and I don't know anything about Canadian history. So I'm here to rectify that, to fix that, and hopefully you can put up with me and maybe get a little out of it as well. And with that being said, let's take a look. This is a little 4-minute, 5-minute timeline animation, Canadian history in 5 minutes. That's the level of detail I think I need to start out on to at least get a good overall view of what we're talking about.
Canada, the second largest country in the world, occupies most of the northern part of North America, covering the vast land area from the United States in the south to the Arctic Circle in the north. It is a country of enormous distances and rich natural resources. Indigenous people lived in what is now Canada for thousands of years before the first Europeans arrived. They are now...
Yeah, that's the same exact thing with America, although it's pretty widely accepted in America that when the first Americans or settlers came over to the United States, they were horrible to the indigenous people. They killed them, they took their land, they kicked them out, and yeah, like the relationship with the indigenous people who originally lived there, it was horrible. We treated them horrible. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about that, but I am interested to see maybe Canada's history with that.
Known as the First Nations and the Inuit people. The first European people to come to Canada arrived between 15,000 and 30,000 years ago across a land bridge that joined Asia and North America. Around 1000 AD, the...
Fascinating to think about, right? This I do know about. I at least know that much, with all of the ice ages and whatnot forming massive land bridges across, so it was possible for cross-continent travel, which is interesting that has a place in Canada's story. I mean, it makes sense.
The first European people to come to Canada arrived between 15,000 and 30,000 years ago across a land bridge that joined Asia and North America. Around 1000 AD, the Viking explorer Leif Erikson reached Newfoundland, Canada. He tried to establish a settlement, but it didn't last. In the early 16th century, Europeans started exploring Canada's eastern coast, beginning with John Cabot from England between 1534 and 15...
I'm not familiar with this man, John Cabot. Hold on. Who are these?
Settlement, but
I need to hear this
last.
again.
In the early 16th century, Europeans started exploring Canada's eastern coast, beginning with John Cabot from England. Between 1534 and 1542, Jacques Cartier made 3 voyages across the Atlantic, claiming the land for King Francis I of France. Cartier had 2 captured guides speak the Iroquoian word Kanata, meaning village. By the 1550s, the name of Canada began appearing on maps.
Just in the 1550s, eh? Only a tiny 500 years ago. That's a long time. Wow, when you think about it, to first had the word Canada be associated with this land.
Parts of Canada were settled by France and parts by Great Britain. In 1605, Port Royal...
France and Great Britain. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, that's extremely important, knowing who exactly it is, but besides the original inhabitants of that land, who were the first Europeans to come over into Canada.
Parts of Canada were settled by France and parts by Great Britain. In 1605, Port Royal was built in Acadia by the French, led by Samuel de Champlain, and 3 years later, he started settling Quebec. The French and Aboriginal people collaborated in the vast fur trade economy, driven by the demand for beaver pelts in Europe. Outstanding leaders like Jean Talon, Bishop Laval, and Count Frontenac built a French empire in North...
Are these all individuals that are very well known in Canadian history? Because you can rest assured we are well into territory that is never talked about in American education, American history classes. You would have to be a major in history in college or university to have any chance of learning about this inside of education. But luckily for us, we have 5-minute 5-minute YouTube videos that can rectify all of that in just 5 minutes. Wow. Who would have thought that the future would be so great?
Leaders like Jean Talon, Bishop Laval, and Count
I mean, there's probably a lot of American historical figures that Canadians are not familiar with. Hopefully, it would make me feel a little better about myself, at least.
Frontenac built a French empire in North America that reached from Hudson Bay to the Gulf of Mexico. In the 1700s, France and Great Britain...
Hold on. From
Jean
where to
Talon,
where?
Bishop Laval, and Count Frontenac built a French empire in North America that reached from Hudson Bay to the Gulf of Mexico.
That I didn't know about a French empire. Maybe we're just revealing, even with American history, my own ignorance. But no, I do think I would have probably heard about something like this. A French led establishment spanning the entire coast of what would be the United States.
Frontenac built a French empire in North America.
I need to look at this map for a second. Okay. So the original Canada spanned... Wow, what? This is why I watch this stuff. This is fascinating. Canada spanned all the way through what is America. That's fascinating.
That reached from Hudson Bay to the Gulf of Mexico. In the 1700s, France and Great Britain battled for control.
Oh, duh, what am I thinking? What was controlled by Great Britain at the time? The part of American history that I am well aware of. Okay. Because he said that it was French and UK settlers that initially came from Europe to Canada, and they were establishing yes, and I'm well aware that the UK controlled the American colonies before America gained its independence and became an independent nation, so that explains why the presence of the UK and France in America. Got it.
Of North America. In 1759, the British defeated the French in the Battle of the Plains of Abraham at Quebec City, marking the end of France's empire in America. The commanders of both armies...
No, they never really did a good job of teaching that France had any kind of meaningful empire in America. Did not do a good job of teaching that little fact.
Brigadier James Wolfe and the Marquis de Montcalm were killed leading their troops in battle. Following the war, Great Britain renamed the colony the Province of Quebec. The French-speaking Catholic people, known as habitants or...
And I know that there are a lot of French speakers, maybe not a lot, I'm not really sure what the percentage is, French speakers in Canada. I believe in only certain areas, though. Not totally sure about all that, though.
Canadians strove to preserve their way of life in the English-speaking, known as habitants or... the colony, the Province of Quebec. The French-speaking Catholic people, known as habitants or Canadians, strove to preserve their way of life in the English-speaking, Protestant-ruled British Empire. After the American Revolutionary War, many people in the new United States wanted to stay loyal to Britain. Thousands came north to Canada and settled in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, and...
I didn't know that either. That's fascinating. That's the kind of thing another thing they don't teach you. A lot of, people living in America after the American Revolution who still had sympathies and ties to the UK journeyed up to Canada. Wow. No, they definitely never heard that.
And Ontario.
Makes sense,
During
though.
the War of 1812, the United States tried to conquer Canada, but were defeated. In 1860...
All right, I swear to God, we must have gone over that, but I was probably asleep. A war? I've heard of the War of 1812, don't get me wrong, and I don't mean to come off as disrespectful, not being aware of literal wars, people dying, living and dying and fighting for nations here. I don't mean to come off as disrespectful, but I still say there are such important events, even these so close to my own home, that we're not nearly made aware of enough in American education. I swear, I don't know if it's the way it's taught or what is taught in the curriculum, so much trying to be crammed in, or just not an emphasis on certain things. But we did learn about the War of 1812. I just never quite realized the significance of it between America and Canada. and that we lost. So that really, it turned out well for Canada, I guess. But it's obviously always a horrific thing that a war had to occur at all.
Canada and settled in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, and Ontario. During the War of 1812, the United States tried to conquer Canada but were defeated. In
What?
1867, the province of Canada was joined by two other British colonies of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia through Confederation, forming a self-governing entity named Canada. Canadian
Okay.
soldiers fought in World War I for the British Empire. More Canadians died in this war than any other war. Canada became better known as a country after its success in the capturing of Vimy Ridge from the Germans in France in 1917. Women were
Okay.
given the right to vote by the end of the war, partly because of the help they gave making weapons while the men fought in Europe. In 1931, Canada became
progress.
fully independent. Then the government of Canada.
Hold on, that's kind of important. Becoming independent.
In 1931, Canada became fully independent. Then the
1931. It's crazy how all these things, like such incredible things that have only been around for less than 100 years, like Canada's independence. It's like when things occur before we're born, we act like they must have happened 10,000 years ago, and it's just not the case. It's wild to think about, and is worthy of us or me, learning about it, paying it its due respect.
men fought in Europe. In 1931, Canada became fully independent. Then the government of Canada made all decisions about Canada. The British Parliament passed the Statute of Westminster in 1931, which acknowledged Canada as a co-equal with the United Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms. It was a crucial step in the development of Canada as a
I know there's some kind of relationship between the UK and Canada that as an American I've never had to really think about, but I feel like I need to watch another video on that whole subject. The relationship between the UK and Canada, and I saw that it kind of had, on the flag, there were some UK aspects to it, and I don't know, just clear to me that there's much more to know than can be explained to me in this 5-minute video.
Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms. It was a crucial step in the development of Canada as a separate state, in that it provided for nearly complete legislative autonomy from the Parliament of the United Kingdom. The
That is
Canadian
important.
economy boomed during World War II as its industries manufactured military material for Canada, Britain, China, and the Soviet Union. Despite
Okay.
another conscription crisis in Quebec in 1944, Canada finished the war with a large army and strong economy. In the 1960s, the Quiet Revolution took place in Quebec, overthrowing the old establishment which centered on the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Quebec.
The Quiet Revolution. I've not heard of this. Is this something that's very well known in Canadian history? The Quiet Revolution? The overthrowing of a Catholic something?
Took place in Quebec, overthrowing the old establishment which centered on the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Quebec
Okay,
and led to
okay.
modernizing of the economy. In the same period, Canada adopted the Maple
I feel like you could go and he kind of glossed over that, but I'm sure you could dive into that whole revolution too for hours, for days, probably for years.
of Quebec and led to modernizing of the economy. In the same period, Canada adopted the maple leaf flag, although not without considerable debate and misgivings among large number of English Canadian society. In 1980,
The maple leaf flag. Now that's an iconic flag that 99% of Americans know the Canadian flag because it's fun, it's cool, it's distinct. I love the actual design elements of it, but I'm sure that the symbols and the colors actually must have meaning, not just that it's a fun design that's very unique and representative of Canada, but it must, there's a story to it, and I want to know. I want to know more about the Canadian flag story. I'm going to look into that for sure.
considerable debate and misgivings among large number of English Canadian society. In 1981, the Canadian House of Commons and Senate passed a resolution requesting that the British Parliament enact a package of constitutional amendments which would end the last powers of the British Parliament to legislate for Canada and would create an entirely Canadian process for constitutional amendments.
Man, that was only 40 years ago. I think he said 1980? It was only 40 years ago when Canada truly became like they can edit their own constitution free of any UK influence or control. Man, I mean, this stuff is all, it's crazy. It's just what I was saying before. This stuff is recent. History is happening around us. It's just that as Americans, obviously we tend to focus on our own country, which is important for every nation to focus on their nation's history, probably first and foremost, but a healthy understanding of preferably, it's a global world we live in now. Everyone's connected now through the internet, through economies. You need to know about like other nations and their history and how they got to where they are. Can't stress that enough.
Canada's capital is Ottawa, and its three largest metropolitan areas are Toronto,
Ottawa.
Montreal.
I was about to say, I'm not sure I could have actually said the capital of Canada. I'm just being totally honest here. We know Toronto, we know Quebec, I know Ottawa, I know of it, I've heard of it. I couldn't really tell you anything about it. Definitely gonna have to watch something about it. And I couldn't have told you it was the capital, just being honest.
Canada's capital is Ottawa, and its three largest metropolitan areas are Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver.
Montreal,
Canada is sparsely populated,
Vancouver.
the majority of its land area being dominated by forest and tundra. Consequently, its population is highly urbanized.
What? Wait, it's mostly unpopulated area?
Montreal, and Vancouver. Canada is sparsely populated, the majority of its land area
Really?
being dominated by forest and tundra. Consequently, its population is highly urbanized, with
I never quite really appreciated that fact. That a lot of Canada's land area isn't populated with people, it's just forest and tundra. That's really, really interesting.
with over 80% of its inhabitants concentrated in large areas and medium-sized cities, many near the
Yeah.
southern border. Thank you for watching. Please check out our other animated history shows, and don't forget...
Wow. Man, so much to know. I think I was kind of accurate in that all I could handle at this point in time was the 5-minute Canadian history. But that alone sent my brain spinning half the time. That was a good foundation for learning the big points of Canadian history. I could watch it again. I feel like I missed things, but that was very interesting. I knew, I was getting at this at the beginning. Canada is my neighbor. America, Canada, we're right there. And to not know more about it and its culture is a travesty, to say the least. And if I can learn more about it, if I can watch more videos, maybe somehow through the internet, I can come to get some kind of better appreciation and understanding. I mean, much better than I would have had 100 years ago, where I'd just be stuck, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, where I'd just be stuck in my own little bubble forever. At least now I can watch internet videos and kind of get a grip on what's going on in Canada. Anyway, I've gone on long enough. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to give it a like, leave a comment, and if you're interested in watching more videos like this, more things about Canada, I'm definitely going to be making more videos, watching, learning things about Canada. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.